Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk a bit more about evasion versus deflection. Our journey starts where I've understood that I can actually have more chance to deflect than chance to evade. Now we all know that the deflection rating is derived out of evasion rating. However, the chance to evade is not samely calculated as chance to deflect, as apparently both are calculated via a different formula. Then it got me thinking. I saw this notable. Glancing blows. Chance to evade is unlucky, chance to deflect is lucky. Unlucky means roll it twice, take the bad option. Lucky means roll it twice, take the better option. And I thought, why not try and play with it? I already have a very low chance to evade, which is a bit weird, but I'm level 52 and I know it depends on the level of the enemy and also on its accuracy rating, so obviously it's not exactly a global 5%. What would happen to these two numbers? I wondered. So then I've put a point in here. Lo and behold, something interesting happened. This remained 5, however, the estimated effective chance to evade now became 0. This makes sense because unlucky kinda means that we're taking the percentage and multiplying it by itself. 5% multiplied by 5% is somewhere around 0.025%. Way smaller than 1 that it is shown as 0. The formula for chance to deflect when it's lucky is a bit more complex. I'm putting it here on the screen, but it simply takes me to 35% instead of 19%. But then, as I'm famously known for not playing the game but playing it not playing, I was curious. What is the threshold? How do I know that this is better? Because evade makes me not take 100% of the damage, while deflect at its base makes me only mitigate 40% of the damage, which means I will take 60% of the damage. How do I know in a vacuum that having 5% evade and 19% deflect is worse than having effective chance to evade of 0 and effective chance to deflect of 35%? And on went the journey. So shamelessly, I went to ChatGPT and asked that. I'm going to skip the calculations, but it was actually very, very close. In my initial setting, I would on average receive 87.4% of incoming damage on average. And in my new setting, I would get 86% of incoming damage on average. Oof, very close, but I am now better. So purely mathematically speaking, with the current base stats I've had, Glancing Blow is slightly better overall. It shaves off, 1.4% damage taken per hit. But then it highlighted one more interesting item, the trade-off of reliability, which is also the conversation between armor and evasion. Without Glancing Blows, I have 5% chance to mitigate all of the damage. But with Glancing Blows, I would have what I can describe as smoother, consistent mitigation, which honestly I enjoy more, which is why most of the time I would take the notable node Iron Reflexes to convert all evasion rating to armor. I want reliable mitigation of damage. However, during my trading period, where I've uncovered a unique item that gave me a lot of case resistance, which is what I was looking for, but also the gain deflection rating equal to 57% of evasion rating, and suddenly I had a lot of chance to deflect. The next question I found the most interesting one. It had asked, do you want me to set up a probability table, like chance to survive 3 consecutive big hits without Glancing Blow and with Glancing Blow, so I can see the variance effect in numbers? I said yes. That was interesting. Skipping the math again, the chance to survive 3 consecutive big hits without the Glancing Blows, specifically for me, I would have 54% chance to survive it. But with Glancing Blows, I have 72% chance to survive this. And that's an 80% chance increase versus these 3-hit bursts, right? Even though average damage reduction only improved 1.6% earlier. That's exactly the reliability effect that I was talking about. Less variance and a much higher chance that at least one of those big hits is softened. Which means if we care about burst survival, right, boss combos, back-to-back slams, rough rares, then Glancing Blows wins. Even if average, effective health pool only nudges up slightly, because the probability that I live through a short sequence of big hits goes up a lot. So my next question is are we cheating here, right? Because if we only take the unlucky chance of both evade occasions, even if I have 90% evasion, isn't unlucky meaning that effective is 0? The answer is actually no, because through this equation, if we would have taken 90% evade, then unlucky would be 81%. 50% evade, unlucky would become 25%, and 5% evade, as we've discussed previously, becomes 0.25% evade, which is simply rounded to 0 in the Path of Exile UI. So my last question to it was, is there a threshold, right, of either evasion or deflection number, chance to proc, or a ratio between the two that can be shown and measured, that when this ratio is breached or when this threshold is crossed, it is then worthwhile, numerically wise, to get this notable passive? His answer honestly tired me quite a bit, but the rule of thumb would have been that if deflection is bigger than evasion in terms of chance percentage, right, then yes, glancing blows tends to win and help you. But if evasion percentage is bigger than deflection percentage, then glancing blows tends to lose. I'll wrap it up by saying I answered yes to the question, do I want a plot of a heat map chart, which can literally show me the threshold in my video? So with all its glory, here you go. It took me a while to understand this. Honestly, I don't think it's that helpful, but it kind of shows the break even, where we understand that when we push evade much further to the right of the graph very fast, we'll see that glancing blows is not really helpful. It is particularly helpful where, like in my situation, my evasion rating is very, very low and my deflection percentage starts to go higher and higher. As you can see, I am inside this interesting threshold where it pays off to do that. Now, obviously, this graph changes the more. So if you suddenly make your damage prevented by deflection 50%, the graph will be different. Lastly, obvious tip would be that evasion is rolled before deflection, right? So we firstly check if we evade and get 0% of the hit. If not, we check deflection. Thank you for going through this journey with me. I've enjoyed not playing for 3 hours to research and make this video. Really wanted to share that with you, honestly. Thank you, and enjoy playing the game.